welcome back to the Think About It channel. Today we're doing an episode of Demo, where we talk to Philadelphia and South Jersey area musicians. Today I have Jake Dillon. Jake's a singer-songwriter from Philadelphia. He's a former special ed teacher that's now all in on his music. He blends folk, country, and indie pop into a sound that's honest and down to earth. He plays drums, piano, and guitar on all of his tracks and draws his lyrical inspiration from his relationships, heartbreaks, and his faith. His debut album, I Wonder If You Take Me Seriously, released back in December of 2024, and his newest single just released this week, yesterday, June 22nd. Jake, how are you today, man? It's good to have you on.
I'm good, man. Yeah, thanks for that intro. Just want to say to everybody, there's a lot of Jake Dillons out there. I'm not the former veteran from Arkansas. I always get grouped in. Like, if you look me up, it's like my picture and then this other Jake Dillon guy from Arkansas. His music's dope. But yeah, I'm good today, man. I'm off for like the first time in 3 weeks, I think, or something crazy. So it's been nice. Just been hanging out with my fiance and getting outside. It's hot though. It's hot.
And congratulations on that. It's fairly recent, right? Just the past couple
yeah,
months.
getting engaged. Yep.
Yeah.
It's about a month now, I'd say.
Oh, very cool. So it's still very fresh.
Very fresh, yeah.
So when did your love for singing and songwriting begin?
So I was a drummer for a long time. Before singing. I was like the kid who would make beats on their desk in school and get yelled at. That was about the only thing I got in trouble for. And so then my friends were like, oh, we have a drum set in high school. And I went over there. We jammed a lot. So I started to love music there. I just sort of figured out how to drum based on like knowing how to make beats and stuff, I guess. And as much as I loved drumming, by the time I hit like 19, 20, it just like wasn't hitting that musical bone for me anymore. Like it wasn't quite doing it. So I wanted to start learning more melodic instruments and start trying to sing. Like I knew I could hold a tune, but a lot of people can hold a tune who can't necessarily like sing confidently.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so when I got to college, I went to Bernathen College in Huntington Valley. I don't know if you're familiar or not. But it's in Montgomery County here, right outside of Philly. There was a piano in the dorm hall, super small school, small class size. I was bored and I was like, I'm just gonna learn how to play the piano. And so I sat down, learned the basic chords and everything. This is like 10 years ago. But I spent hours a day for like the next few years, honestly. Even when I transferred to Charleston Southern University in South Carolina, I mean, if my friends didn't know where I was playing the piano, just like because I loved music and loved playing. And then I wrote my first song. I also learned guitar during that time too, but I wrote my first song back in 2019 in one of like the piano rooms at Charleston Southern. I couldn't really sing yet, but I was like, I want to do it. I want to figure this out. I've always been someone like where if I think I could be good at something and I love it, I'm gonna just take it to the fullest extent. Like obviously there's a lot of artists out there who this is like their main purpose in life, and it's like they're just gonna keep going with it and see where it takes them. That's basically where I'm at. So that's kind of where the actual songwriting started, was 2019. My first single was called Perspective, super bare bones. I didn't know much about the production end of things. I'd actually moved back to Philly in 2019 from South Carolina, recorded at Light and Sound Studio, that first single. But it was full band, but it didn't even have bass on it. Like that's how much I didn't know. I didn't realize the song needed bass in it. If you go back and listen, it has an interesting sound because of that. But that's where the songwriting and releasing began. 2019. We're kind of 70 songs later now.
That's crazy. So you're entirely self-taught.
Yeah.
What kind of challenges did you find with doing that? Like, did you find it frustrating? Did you ever wish like I wish this were easier, like I wish I had a resource to help me, or were you happy with doing it yourself?
I am just the type of person where like I don't learn that great from other people showing me how to do things. Like I almost like the challenge of filling in the gaps. So when I say I was fully self-taught, of course there were like I had some guitarist friends
Hmm.
and pianist friends in college who were like, showed me like this little trick or something, but like I never had like a formal lesson or anything like that. My friend in college and roommate taught me how to like metal chug. You know what I mean? I was trying to do like the,
Hmm.
down picking thing, and I loved Metallica and all that. But so as far as challenges, like I liked the challenge of learning how to play. I basically like I realized I wanted to be able to record all of the things in the studio. Like I wanted to record all of the elements. So on most of my songs, I've played every instrument. Um, it's just for simplicity's sake. So I've had a few songs where people have helped me out. My buddy Jordan Roth, you probably have seen his name around with associated with me. He's on a lot of my songs, lead guitar wise. But yeah, self-taught for the most part and everything.
Very cool. So you just mentioned Metallica a second ago. Who were some of your biggest influences as a musician?
Yeah, so it's funny. I feel like sometimes your influences aren't even the artists you listen to the
Sure.
most. Like I grew up on metalcore and like uh emo stuff. There's definitely emo vibes in my songs, but I'd say like as far as when I listen back to my songs and my sound, I know I was influenced heavily by the Fray, um, Coldplay, which again I didn't like listen to that much, but there were a few songs I definitely listened to a lot. Pink Floyd definitely is in there, and then more recently, I'd say Zach Bryan, kind of that folk country vibe. I started to really, really like folk country over the past 3 or 4 years. I didn't before, but I didn't like the bro country stuff. And then Tyler Childers and Zach Bryan and Dillon Gossett, those guys kind of have made me get into it because it's very soulful and raw and real, and I like that.
Yep. So your background before this was in special education.
Yeah.
I did some time in special education too. So I was curious, what can you tell us about your career there, and how did you transition from doing that to music full time?
Yeah, so when I was in Charleston, I was looking for a job in psychology. That's what my degree was in, my bachelor's. And I found behavioral therapy. I didn't want to work in like the food industry or anything, so I was working as an RBT. I don't know if you're familiar with that, certification or not, registered behavior technician. So I would go work with kids who had autism at their house and you know, um, help them and their families with certain behaviors and daily living skills and things. So that was in 2019, and then when I got back, I when I got back in late 2019, I pretty much started right away in special ed, um, and I worked with like adults who had autism, so that was more of a life skills coach role. And then I transitioned pretty quickly after that into at the same school, working with like teenage age, like 13 to 17 individuals who have autism, and I really loved it. It was very very rewarding. It was fast paced. It was intense, but I loved being able to make a difference in their lives. But I realized, kind of get into the music thing. Throughout that time, I was writing, releasing, doing all the things. Basically, like my day job was like funding my music. That's how for a lot of musicians, I think that's the thing. But um, I realized it was just too taxing to try to do that job and do music basically full time. Because there were times where I was gigging 3 to 4 times a week on top of
Yeah.
a 40 plus hour a week special ed job.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2023, I was working at PCDI in Princeton. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's similar to the school I worked at before around where I live now. But so I left that and said I'm gonna just do music full time. I'm gonna teach music and I'm gonna figure it out. I had maybe five music students at the time, that I was just kind of doing on the side, teaching on the side, and I started posting everywhere imaginable on Facebook so that I could teach music, and I found probably within a year, 25 more students, and now I'm at close to 40 like music students
Very
per
nice.
week. Yeah. And so I get to teach music and then write, record, and do all that full time, which is this is also a grind, but I don't have to wake up early anymore, which is nice. Um, but yeah, it's a pretty sweet gig. I'm very lucky to be doing this now. 2 years on now, teaching music and gigging and writing, and I do session work as well
Hmm.
at the studio. But it's pretty sweet, man. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, you did. You did. Yeah. A follow up to that. I saw recently you had like was it like a showcase for your students?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So like everything with me, I try to make it bigger and better. Like each time, I just can't turn that switch off, even if I don't know what I'm doing at all. Like there's a lot of stuff I did not know going into doing something like what we just did. That luckily I have a lot of people around me who were very helpful, like very handy people. Um, but yeah, I mean, the way that I make my lessons very motivating for my students is by having these showcases and gives them something to work towards and put their skills on display.
Hmm.
But I was like, I want to make it like almost like a mini music festival vibe, but it's like a student showcase.
Hmm.
So we rented a spot in Tyler Park. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's in Bucks County here. And we had my student's dad brought his like trailer bed thing, I don't know what it's called, as a stage. He like made like a ramp up to the stage, and we loaded up all the gear, drums, guitar, amps, mic stands, all the stuff, and we had 37 performances that day.
Very cool.
Um, it was awesome, man. It was awesome. So, and we made it like a potluck thing too. So
Very
all the
nice.
parents pitched in because I wanted to do food trucks, and I was like, a bit too much for right now. Maybe next year.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's fun, man. And I always say like when I wish I would have had this opportunity when I was a kid. So
Hmm. Yeah.
that's pretty much that.
Well, it's nice that you can pay it forward now as somebody who's sort of grown up that way, and you can look back and be like, "Hey, I wish I would have had something like this." It's cool that you can
Exactly.
help provide it. Yeah.
Exactly.
You mentioned a little bit ago that you've written a bunch of songs. I think I read somewhere that you've now put out over 70 original songs since 2019.
Yeah.
And if you think about like a lot of artists anymore, it feels like you maybe get 10 songs every 2 years. It feels like you maybe get half of what you're putting out there. Um, with that being said, do you ever get like a writer's block? Because like you're pumping out that much music and that much lyric, there must be a lot going your way.
Whew. Yeah, so I've had a lot of inspiration. Um, and I'm sure we'll get into it at some point here deeper maybe. It depends, if you want to go there, but I've had a lot of inspiration with relationships and, faith and all of that family stuff that has given me endless things to write about. Um, and as far as writer's block goes, I think what happens for me now is I get in this space where I can write 10 songs in a week. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And then it's like, let go. You know, um, I won't write for a month or two, at least. But like last year, I knew I wanted to put out an album, my first album. As of this time last year, maybe half the songs were written. Um, and I knew I wanted to put it out before the end of the year. Actually, maybe three of the 10 songs were written, if that. But I just like got in this headspace late summer, compartmentalized, and wrote the rest. And it didn't feel forced because I kind of waited for the right time. But yeah, the way I've described it to people is like I have like maybe 5 to 10 days of like hyper focus to be able to write. Then like 10 days where it's like if I kind of push it, I could write some music that I'll like. And then there's like 10 days of like there's almost zero chance. Everything I try to write or whatever will be, I won't like it for whatever reason. I don't know what it is. That's my process basically.
Sure. And speaking of the album, can you tell us a little bit about it? I wonder if you take me seriously.
Yeah, man. So as far as the title goes, that was basically me, um, more or less playing off of my insecurities, as an artist, because it's very easy to be insecure and compare whatever. So, it, there have been plenty of times where I'm like, man, in my head, and it's not good, right? It's not good, but it's like I wonder if they take seriously what I'm trying to do here. And it just hit me. I was like, I'm gonna call the album that. I'm gonna call it "I Wonder If You Take Me Seriously," and that that's just what it became. And if you listen to the title track, it's like one of those songs that I knew it wasn't gonna be one of the biggest songs on the album. I knew it, but I wanted to do it. It's very much a concoction of a lot of different genres in one that I knew is kind of out there. If you listen to it, or I don't know if you have or not, but if you listen to it, you'll hear it, that it's just kind of a little bit all over the place. And it was like, I don't really care if you take this seriously in a way. It's kind of a weird dichotomy there.
Yeah, and I have listened to the album a couple times through because it's like 10 songs, right? It's not like super long. It's like half an hour.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned the title track, because the title track's my favorite one.
Oh, thank you.
And I don't, I like now that we're sort of talking about it, I can't exactly pinpoint why it's my favorite one. But now that you've mentioned all those things about it, I'm like, maybe that's what's resonated with me, is those underlying things. I think what I like about that song in particular is like I think it feels the most raw, if you know what I mean. It feels to me like you can tell there's a little something extra there, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Not that the other songs don't have like passion or whatever. Like, I can tell a little bit more of the heart and soul was poured into the message of that song than some of the others.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, man. It's cool. You're definitely one of the first people who said that was their favorite song, so I appreciate that. Pretty much everyone says either Ever Deserved or Free From Me. Sometimes Memory. But yeah, it's fun. It's technical too. Like, so that's the thing, is like I've never been able to turn off this like sort of technical switch where I like to do these weird rhythms that maybe lose some people, and that's okay. Like, I love Noah Kahan, I love Zach Bryan, I love all that stuff, and like sometimes it's really simple, easy to digest, and like sometimes I just either can't or don't want to turn off that switch where I'm like, I want to make it a little more technical. And I don't know, who's to say whether that's a good or a bad thing, but I tried to be as authentic as possible, and I'm glad that kind of resonated with you.
Yeah, I could definitely feel it on the whole album, and especially that track.
Cool. Awesome.
I'm gonna try to wrap up here with some more like lower stakes fun ones.
Yeah.
Something a little lighter. Do you have a favorite moment from a show or a venue, or like a ride to a gig? Do you have a moment that is like, wow, I like, either really funny or something just memorable or something that really hits you in a certain way?
Yeah, I mean, well, what comes to mind is the first time, like, well, I guess it wasn't the first, but it was probably the most random time someone was just like, "Oh my gosh, are you Jake Dillon?" And
the dude from Arkansas?
Right, yeah. But this whole gig was the biggest moment for me, and the whole lead up. So when back in March, my fiance and I, a lot of stuff before this that led to this, but we drove to Texas from right outside of Philly here, to my show at Magnolia Silos in Waco. This is like the biggest moment of my career. But that whole drive was just amazing, because we've never gotten to do something like that, and just the whole show was awesome, and everyone at Magnolia was great. And then that was where someone after the show was a half hour after or something, we were in this like coffee shop and they were like, "Oh my gosh, are you Jake Dillon?" And it just it feels good sometimes as an artist to be like
Yeah.
recognized, I guess. I don't know.
No, totally, totally. I get that. I,
Yeah.
I get that time sometimes as a teacher. Like kids I don't teach be like, "Oh, Mr. Vink, you're so cool." And I'm like, "I don't even know who you are." Like I totally get that.
Yeah, man. Exactly. It's cool.
My last big one before I have you plug yourself for me a little bit is
Sure.
like I said, like I try to do my homework on these people before I have them on the show. That way I can know a little bit of what I'm talking about. Um, so when I was listening through the album and I was listening through some of the other stuff, these three bands like came to my mind as like sounds like or like comps, if you will. So I was like Mumford Sons. You mentioned the
Yeah.
Fray. I thought the Fray, and then I thought like Avett Brothers. So I don't know how familiar you are with. I know you're familiar with the Fray because you mentioned that, but like the other two. Um, so just out of fun, how would you, if you were to make a list, how would you rank those three on your list? Mumford and Sons, the Fray, Avett Brothers.
Out of how much I like them?
Sure. Yeah, we can do it like that.
All right, well, I'll just say the Fray and Mumford are probably in like my top 20 anyway.
Okay.
Probably not top 10, but in my top 20. And then the Avett Brothers, there's a couple songs I love by them. Uh, I'm blanking on the names. Um, The weight of lies will bring you down. You know that song? The Weight of Lies. And then there's another one that I really like. So it's funny you mentioned that. But it's got to be the Fray, Mumford, and then Avett Brothers. There was a Mumford song that was my sound check song with my duo for a couple of years, honestly. It's called Timshel. I don't know if you know that song. But I appreciate you said that because I love all of those bands, but Avett Brothers I just don't know as much.
Hmm.
So Fray, Mumford, Avett Brothers.
Very nice. If people have gotten this far and they've enjoyed what they've heard, where can they learn more about you and your music?
Yeah, so I'd say I post most regularly on Instagram. I'm on TikTok every day too. I've been trying to go live regularly now. So Instagram is Jake Dillon official, Jake Dillon official, and then TikTok is I think it's just Jake Dillon underscore music. Um, Spotify is where I kind of try to funnel people towards musically. It just seems to be the most important for artists now. Um, but my music is everywhere, and I just released my new single "Get Through" literally last night at 9 p.m. So I don't know when this will be released, but
This week?
Sunday. Yeah, okay. So last night, the 22nd, it just got released, and it's one of my favorites I've ever written. I genuinely mean that. So I'd love if you guys check that out.
You want to talk about it for a minute? Tell us what it's all about.
Yeah. So yeah, whatever. I don't mind talking about it. I
Yeah,
like to
go
be
for it.
real.
I'd love to hear
So
about it.
yeah. So my fiance and I actually before we went on that Waco trip down to Texas back in March. We actually had broken up briefly for about a month. Um, just kind of was at a crossroads in my life of like, I got to move to Nashville. And, my fiance has three kids, so basically a stepdad now. And so that we figured everything out. I didn't move to Nashville, got back together, and it's awesome. Very happy about it. It was very clear that I made the right choice. And so the song is about that month. The the get through comes from like every day felt like it was hard, but it felt like I was just like trying to just fill my time just to get through. Like I was really close to moving. I had everything set up in Nashville ready to go. And I was just trying to get to that time. And so that song is about that time period. And Melissa, my fiance, is actually on the album cover. She made it. I kind of made her look like a little bit ghostly, ghastly. I don't know what the correct way to say that is. To kind of fit the vibe a little bit. It's if you like Bon Iver and folky stuff, you're gonna like it. A little emo too.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and anybody watching this today. I know you're a busy guy with everything you got going on, so I really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, dude. Thank you for reaching out, and hopefully we can connect soon. I'm looking forward to hearing this.